Hey guys, welcome back to the Lead Belt Chronicles. This is going to be episode 2, actually in part 2 with Chris Dunlap here with Fired Food Truck. So last time we really got to get to know a lot about Chris. I felt like get to kind of know your start and how you got to where you are today. So we're going to kind of continue on with that. I know one thing I've wanted to ask you is where did the name Fired come from? How did you guys come up with that name?
So we wanted something simple, one word, easy to remember. We cook with fire, so we decided to call it Fire. Simple as that. No real big backstory to it or anything, I just, I wanted something that was just easy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I remember the first time, when I met you over at Walmart, like I mentioned last time, I wanted to have you set up in my office here in Deloge. And the first time I shared a post, I had people almost like freaking out. They were like, they seen my name and I had fired. And they thought that John got fired. Anyways, it's kind of like a funny
Yeah.
little post.
So we actually do an event over at Boyd and Associates Accounting in Farmington. They call it their Fire Day. So John, the owner, when he was, I guess, let go from his last accounting job before he started his own business, that was the day that he was fired on, I guess. And so every year he invites us over to set up, and we have a fire day. And he's a super lighthearted guy, so he makes he makes a joke about it. And they're great people over there too. But yeah, he has us in there, and we set up, and I think like he'll do a thing where he'll offer a discount with us or whatever, and we'll do like 40% off cannolis or something, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but something like that, for the fire day. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, a lot of people, they do the play on words. They make jokes about it. I got fired, And it's a picture of their food, So
yeah. I thought that was funny, and I had to tell people, like, no, I didn't get fired. I have fired coming. So that was fun, pretty funny, but. One thing I was wanting to know a little bit more on, I want you kind of to reiterate on, is like, what was it like? I mean, well, first off, what does it take to get like a business started, as a whole? Like, what does it take? Does it take grit to keep going?
Yeah, so first you got to get a business license. You got to get like your EIN through the IRS. Just to establish yourself as a business. You got to get right with the health department. Like what that looked like for us is before we ever had the food trailer bought even, we went to the health department, we sat down with them and just kind of had a meeting, and they're like, well, this is what we want. We need an order of operations. We need cleaning procedures. We need, your layout of your food trailer, how the water runs, how the, plumbing runs as well, the water in and then the plumbing out, and where all your equipment's going to be. They wanted brand names of the equipment, like exact models that we were getting. So we had to give them a pretty extensive list of everything. And so that's kind of where we started. We got all of that together. Later on down the road, once we were, right before we opened, because, we didn't have the trailer yet. We didn't know how we were going to run the plumbing, all that kind of stuff. And so, we got it all set up. We sent them our thing, and they're like, yeah, this looks good. And, then you get a pre-inspection from them where they just come to your house and they do your inspection, and then they come out 2 weeks later after you've already been operating, and then they do your regular inspection. And so, there's a lot of, like we had to redo our plumbing twice, to get it right with them, because we went ahead and did it before we handed them our plans, and we thought it was good. And then we redo our plumbing, and then we come back, they're like, well, you need this kind of a thing under your sink or whatever. So then we had to go back and redo that, and a lot of headaches. I mean, there were some obstacles presented to us that I thought we weren't going to be able to overcome. And so, like, those kinds of things, I couldn't figure out at first, and it takes you to the point of almost giving up on the whole thing, because you're like, how am I going to do this? And, I put those things on the back burner and just thought about them, every once in a while, and eventually a solution would present itself, or I would come up with a solution, and we jumped over every one of those hurdles, and like there was a lady at the health department that wanted us to put a bathroom on there. I was like, well, how am I going to put a bathroom on there? For one, I feel like that's not very hygienic, and being that close to food, and no other food truck has a bathroom, and so the way I got around that was I said, hey, the best I can do is promise to park within 200 feet of a public restroom that's open, and say that was good enough for them. And it was for the employees, not for the customers, of course. But Amber and I are the only employees, so we can either hold it for 4 hours or we can, find a bathroom nearby.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a lot of those little obstacles that were tough, to figure out, and I just kind of, put them on the back burner, worried about them when I could, but mostly just focused on what I could control and what I could do, and never gave up, and and then we got open. So yeah.
So I don't know if I ever asked you this, but it's kind of like a two-part question. Like, where did you first set up, and when was that? Like, how long ago was it that you guys first set up?
So that was May 1st of 2021. We picked Ray Cole's that parking lot next to Ray Cole's in Park Hills. We set up there for our first day, and we just thought, let's be in our hometown, we picked that, and it was May, so it was a pretty warm day, I believe, too, and that was our very first day, and it was about as rough as you could imagine.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it pretty busy that day, or
Oh yeah.
have a good turnout?
Yeah, we had a line of probably 30 to 40 people for 4
wow.
hours straight. It was a mess. Amber cried 3 times because she was so nervous before we ever even opened the window.
I can imagine.
She was such a mess about it. Just her nerves. The anxiety. How am I going to do this? How's this going to go? And I feel like the first day is very important for a learning experience. You figure out what not to do real quick.
Well, because you guys never really. I mean, did either one of you guys ever work in like a restaurant or anything growing up, or?
Well, when I was at my other job, my advertising job, I was commission based, and we would go through some slow times, and one of those slow times was 2018, or the end of 2000. No, it was the end of 2017 going into 2018, and Sugar Fire in Farmington was getting ready to open, and they needed somebody to be like their meat prep evening pit guy. And I had experience, and it was just a few hours a night, about 5 days a week. And so I went over and talked to those guys. They hired me. I worked for them for about 18 months, just to make some extra income. My job was still paying the bills, but it was so slow at that point that, didn't have any fun money, didn't have any money to save,
Yeah.
And so I wanted to have a way of making, extra income on the side to just kind of pad the bank account and, make us live a little more comfortable. And that was super enjoyable of a job,
So it's more of like a food prep. So you weren't really, okay.
Yeah, and you're prepping hundreds of pounds of meat a week, maybe even thousands. So you're prepping for an insane amount of people. And I enjoyed it. I loved it. And I had a few restaurant jobs before that. I had some pizza delivery jobs. I had, I worked at Sonic in Park Hills and Deloge when I was younger. Amber was a server, or a car hop, I guess, at Hunt's when she was probably 15, 16. And then I think she worked at Subway in Farmington as she was graduating high school. But other than that, she pretty much went from graduating high school and like a year and a half later had her job at UPS.
Okay.
So she didn't see as much restaurant experience as I did, but I worked at Hardee's for a while. Nothing, no super high-end food, nothing that you're, making from scratch really,
When it wasn't yours, like you represented that,
Yeah.
fired. So I mean, that would be a little nerve-wracking too, because you want to make a good first impression and everything, and you want to make sure people want to come back for sure. So I think it's awesome. So where all do you normally set up at? Like,
oh, we're kind of everywhere. So every Thursday we're out of the county. We're usually in Fredericktown or St. John. So every other Thursday we go to St. John, and then the opposite Thursdays we go to Fredericktown.
okay.
But then usually Wednesdays we're at either Leadington Plaza or Deloge AutoZone, and then Fridays it just kind of depends if if there's a food truck Friday in Farmington, we're there. If there's not, we may set up at AutoZone over there, and then in the evening come to AutoZone over here and set up. Fridays we usually run a double, so we don't have to work that extra 4th day, because we do 2 days of prep. So 2 days of gathering inventory. We drive to St. Louis. We get all of our inventory on Monday mornings, and then we come back. We prep for probably 3 or 4 hours that evening, and then all day Tuesday is doing dough, cleaning up the trailer afterwards, making sauce, making any other kind of items that we need for prep. So it's day and 3/4 to 2 days worth of prep. So we're working 5 days a week, even though we're only operating 3.
Okay. Okay.
Probably 50 to 60 hours a week.
Oh, wow.
Total between prep and setting up and all that.
Wow. Um, Another thing I was going to ask you about, I don't know, I know we probably spent about 10 minutes last week for the first episode, part 1, kind of talking about your start, how you got started.
Yeah.
I think we were talking throughout this past week, you had some more stuff you kind of wanted to hit on.
Yeah, so that first day, that was insane. We had way too many people on the trailer.
Yeah.
My sister and my mom jumped in to help, and then once they took off, we had some other friends that kind of came in and helped, and it kind of was more harm than it was good. Just because the communication wasn't there. But we learned a lot that day. We learned that you can't take any more than 5 orders at a time. Or else you have people waiting forever.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've put their order in. I learned that I couldn't run run a fryer and 2 pizza ovens at the same time. So that very first day we had a fryer. We were doing smoked and fried wings, toasted ravioli, mozzarella sticks, and after about an hour I shut that down because it was not working out.
Really?
I wasn't good enough with 2 ovens yet, and still to this day I don't think I could run all 3. I mean, those ovens keep me busy, and all it takes is 2 seconds to absolutely torch a pizza if you're not watching.
Yeah.
So, and that still happens sometimes. So, I've got to only do what I'm capable of. But, every week after that first week, it was like sellout days because you're new, everybody wants to see you, and it's hard to gauge, especially early on, but when you're doing those kinds of numbers and you're seeing those kinds of people, it's hard to gauge if you're successful because you're making money, you're serving a lot of people, but that doesn't mean you've built a lot of repeat business yet,
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't know how many of those people are coming back, and we spent an entire year only going out on Saturdays. We were still working our other jobs. We committed to going out every Saturday. I think we missed maybe 2 or 3 Saturdays the entire year. So we were committed because we wanted to give this a solid go and see if we could make it work, And so we went out every Saturday. We'd do food truck Fridays when they were on a Friday. I'd use like a vacation day at work, and Amber wouldn't sleep, and then she would stay up all day and do a food truck Friday, which was super brutal on her,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we did that for a year, and the whole entire time that we were doing that 1 day a week, I was always trying to gauge, like, are we successful yet? Are we successful yet? And it's kind of the honeymoon period because everybody still has to try you. I feel like most people that are going to come see us have tried us now. We've built our business off that and the repeat business, but it takes such a long time, and it's easy to feel like you're successful when you're first starting out because there's lots of people at your truck, but we, on the digital marketing side of that, we focused on organic reach so much. So like I wasn't paying for ads. I wasn't spending any money on anything like that because I wanted people to follow us because they liked what we had,
Yeah.
and not because anything that wasn't organic. The goal of that whole first year was to put us in a position to go full time. And I felt like if we were doing things that didn't get us organic reach, it was hard to gauge what our success actually looked like.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, what the numbers were going to look like because we were still only operating 1 day a week, and then we did 4 days a week for a while once we went full time. But once we got to that that opening, there was still some uncertainty of like, yeah, we're doing great for 1 day a week, but is there going to be enough business for 4 days a week or for 4 stops a week?
Mm-hmm.
And so from what it was still looking like, we never dropped in business on the 1 days a week. I mean, we were still selling out quite a bit. You'd have a few days where the weather wouldn't cooperate, so you wouldn't get as many people out. But sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. We just wanted to be able to, be as certain as we could, I guess, about whether we were going to be able to make it full time.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, it did work out, so I felt like we did that right. But, I feel like it could have hurt us if we would have taken that leap earlier. you know.
Yeah.
Just because we wouldn't have had enough business at that time, but also it would have been kind of naive to think, you know, after 3 months we're successful, and that we would have enough, you know, repeat business just because we were doing good in the beginning. So yeah, I mean, you know, we're giving up jobs that we've been at for 15 years. So
Why do you think, and it's not just food trucks, but like small businesses as a whole, why do you think what do you think they fail? Like, what do you think that that's preventable? Do you think that there's a way of preventing failure? Do you think it's just there's due to not planning right, or?
I think there's a multitude of factors. I mean, one could be you're doing it just for the money, so your heart's not actually in it, or you know, you think it is, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, the dollar bill is your main priority. So maybe you're cutting corners on saving for cost, or you know, maybe you're losing interest because you're not making money. You know, at my old job, you know, if I had a day where I knew I wasn't going to make a good amount of money, I wasn't very interested in working at all that day. I mean, I did still, but it made the day really bad. And you know, when I had a day where I knew I was going to make a ton of money, I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but I was excited to do that work because I knew I was going to benefit. And so I think some of them fail because of that. You know, they get discouraged when they're not making money, and then they scramble and they try to change things too quickly, or they don't. You know, I believe in giving everything a solid chance, right? So like I did spend money on Facebook ads last year for about 6 weeks. I was spending maybe $25 a week on Facebook ads. I just wanted to see what benefit I would get out of it. And you know, you can buy 1 or 2 ads and that's fine, but you're not really giving it a solid chance, because if those 1 or 2 ads don't go anywhere and don't get you any benefit, you're just going to think that advertising isn't worth it. Mm-hmm. But if you give it 6 weeks and you buy ads every day for 6 weeks or every week for 6 weeks, well, then you've given it, you know, the good college try. You know what I mean? And so you give it a solid chance, and if it doesn't work out, and for us it didn't. You know, I was seeing on each post, I was seeing something like 7,500 reach from just the post, and then like 1,500 from the ads. And so if I'm spending, you know, $100 a month on ads, and I'm doing 85% of the work on my own, and the ads are only getting me that other 15%. Well, then to me, it's not worth it. You know, so you know, but I gave it a solid try. But that can go as far as menu items. You know, like our hot gobbler sandwich. We rotate our sandwiches out. They usually hit the menu about every 4 weeks, each one of them. And our hot gobbler sandwich, we went out with it 3 weeks in a row, and it was selling a little bit, but it wasn't selling very well at all. And I told Amber, I said, you know, I'm going to give it 1 more week. You know, we'll run it 1 more time, and if it doesn't sell well, then we'll just nix it from the menu. That week, we sold it out, you know. So sometimes things just take time for people to latch onto them. Sometimes, you know, but you get people that are impatient. And like I said last podcast, I'm impatient, but like I've learned patience, you know. And so if you're not patient, you don't give things a try, like setting up in the same spot 6 or 7 times until it gets good, you know, because sometimes you set up there 2-3 times, it won't really work out, and you'll never go back there again. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it takes more than that. So, you know, there's plenty of spots we've set up several times and they didn't really work out, and so we set up several times and they weren't working out at first, but then they ended up working out, and now we're there all the time, you know. So I think impatience is probably why a lot of businesses fail. You know, they put something on the menu, it doesn't sell that first day or that first week, and then they just don't try it ever again. Mm-hmm. It's like, if I know something's really good and I really love to eat it, but nobody's buying it, I'll put it on the menu 3 or 4 weeks. You know, maybe not in a row, but break it up and put it on. And just like that hot gobbler sandwich, that's a favorite now. That's probably our number 1 to 2 sandwich right now. You know, I think our high steak sandwich is the best in my opinion, and we sold more of those this week than we sell of any other sandwich. But the hot gobbler's coming right up on it. So, you know, and that was a sandwich I was thinking about getting rid of. Mm-hmm. You know, so yeah, I think patience is a big thing. I think you know, not having their heart in it and just working for money. I think that's a big thing. Why businesses fail. You know, I think if you have, you know, you focus on your product, you put out the best you can, you give great customer service, most everything else falls in line. You want to make sure people know where you're at.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're in people, in the areas that people's attention is, like we focused on last podcast. But yeah, I think make great stuff, give great customer service. A lot of stuff just kind of falls into place.
Well, and I think it's big too. Right now I feel like as far as with this podcast, I have basically the equipment I'm using is equipment I've already had on hand. As far as basically what I'm trying to say is right now I haven't went out and bought extra stuff.
Sure.
But I've kind of run into some things already. I went over to Marlar's and talked to a guy over there. He's kind of specializes in audio because he's traveled around with a band and stuff. So anyways, I went and talked to him and I told him, I said, eventually I want to upgrade and actually buy some more better equipment. I said, and the thing is, I can get online, Amazon, and buy equipment. But then I feel like I'm contradicting my podcast because my podcast is about businesses and people of the lead belt. And so I told him, I said, I would rather come spend a little bit of extra money with him, or if not even him, just whoever, which more likely I will go to them, to buy from here locally. Mm-hmm. Then you're putting money back into the community. And that's one thing I know you mentioned, in order to keep businesses afloat, I always like to support local, because that there are families that own that business, that live in the community. So a lot of times they'll put money back in the community. So it just helps the community. Rather than you go into a big box store, whoever it may be, and you give that money, you don't know where that money's going.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you most of the time when you go into a small business, portion of that money you give is going to be invested back to the business, invest in the community, whatever. And so I know you mentioned that like you and Amber usually go out like on Saturdays. Like how long have you guys been doing that? Where you guys do that?
Oh yeah, so we go out. We've probably been doing it for the last 6 months or so. Mm-hmm. We try to spend a lot of our Saturdays going out and supporting local businesses, and sometimes I'll post those on the Fired page. Give them a shout out, let people know where they're at. We this morning before I came here, I went down to the farmers market down there in Park Hills, and Sweet Creek Bakery is down there, mm-hmm. and they're putting out some top of the line stuff. Like their stuff looks great, it tastes great. I've not had a single thing from them I didn't like. And Kylie, the owner, that she supported us ever since we started out. She's been one of our biggest supporters. She just came to us yesterday even. So every Saturday we start our Saturdays, whether we're going out to support businesses or not. We start our Saturdays at the farmers market and go see Kylie and get her sweets. She's got cakes and cookies and breads, and she specializes in sourdough and freeze-dried candy and like those cake sandwiches and macarons and like just all kinds of stuff. And like I said, everything they have is top notch. Mm-hmm. So that's a business that I want to support. So mm-hmm. we went out I don't know, probably a month ago, and we went to several different area businesses, probably 7 or 8, and I made posts about them on my personal page, which there's about 1,400 people following me on there. So 1,400 people got to see what all these businesses had to offer, and I tagged them in the post and I shouted them out and talked about what we liked from them. And, we only do this for businesses where we regularly buy their product or we regularly go visit them, mm-hmm. And so stuff that we really believe in, you won't see anything on there that we didn't like. And if we didn't like it, I'm probably just not going to put it on there because I don't want to, disparage anybody's business. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of our Saturdays are spent supporting a small business. We know the importance of it. We see the community come out and support ours every single week. So, that's what we like to do with our free time and our extra money.
Well, and it's amazing to me because in the insurance business, I always thought coming in, and I don't feel this way, but I was always thinking, like, hey, if so and so's with XYZ company, they're your competition, Mm-hmm. And I didn't know if it was like what kind of competition it was, like, what I'm saying, like you figure that your competition, so you're my enemy, Yeah. That's how some people may think of it, but honestly, this community is amazing because, for instance, not that long ago, I had somebody calling me up, was needing a quote, and he said, "Hey," I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want to do that, but anyways, I knew exactly who he was talking about. He said, "Hey, so and so from XYZ company said you guys would specialize and you guys have good, better rates on this."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's crazy. That somebody from a totally different insurance company referred somebody to me. You know what I mean? It's just. Yeah. And that's what's amazing is, and I know there's other agents that they will refer. I mean, and that's what it's about is, and I kind of feel like you have to like it's a sense of community. Like we're all in this together. Like
Yeah.
you shouldn't. I mean, I feel like you shouldn't feel like you have to knock somebody else down to make help yourself stand up. You know what I mean?
I feel like there's a change happening in this county, at least, as far as the way competition is looked at. There's like 64,000 people in this county. How many insurance companies are in this county?
Well, I know when I took this position, I mean, there's at least here in Deloge. I mean, you can go down the street and there's
probably
one.
4 or
Yeah,
5, right?
I mean, in the local area. Yeah,
Yeah, in the local, just
yeah,
in Deloge. So if you say
yeah,
there's 4 or 5 in Deloge, there's 10 in Farmington, you're at 15 there. Then you got Park Hills, say there's 4 or 5 there as well, and you got
yeah,
4 or 5 and maybe 25, 30 insurance companies
yeah, yeah,
in the entire area, and 3 to 4 insurance agents per company, or some of those are probably a little bigger, but not that many based on how many people we have in the county. So my point is, and Brandon Harden from Riverside Grill told me this a long time ago. He goes, "There's no sense in competition. There's enough mouths to feed." And I've lived by that since he told me that. You know what I mean? Like I support all these other food trucks.
yeah,
And when we're at an event like we were yesterday at the East Side Food Truck Park, we would have people come up and they would be like, "Oh, I'm just looking at your menu," and I'm like, "Hey, don't feel obligated. There's a lot of good food here. Like and all the food's so good that I couldn't blame anybody for shopping anywhere else. Shopping elsewhere than us. And so, I know that what they're going to get is going to be good, so they're going to come back to this area. Maybe next time they try us. Maybe they're not feeling pizza this time, right? So, eventually we'll get that customer to try us. But I don't want anybody to feel obligated to, because there's great food all around.
yeah.
And I want people to try the Lunch Lady. I want people to try Casey's Cooking, or the Rolling Dumpling Pot, or BOGO, or whoever else, because they've all got great food.
Yeah.
And if I can get more people coming to food trucks, because there's a good population that won't eat at food trucks, but if we can persuade those, because the food's so good, to come, then we all do better. Whether it's my food truck or Tom and Julie's, or whoever else's.
Well, and I know another thing you mentioned. Well, your setup at the and we'll kind of hit on that too. I think it'd be kind of cool. Kind of give a little shout out to the new park down there in Farmington. But you're set up there, I guess, really for the first time, but since it opened.
Opening.
And anyways, you were talking to a customer, and I was talking with you, and you said something that was really cool. You're like, what was it? I'm trying to think. I lost my train of thought.
You sound like me.
Well, go ahead and kind of talk about the park, and
Oh, yeah,
that way
so-
I'll think about it.
Yeah, I'm hoping this really blows up, because they've got picnic tables, they've got umbrellas, they've got little games on the table for you to play while you wait on your food. They've got restrooms, they've got trash cans there. There's a gazebo that's like for having a band. So they're going to have live entertainment there pretty often as well. Hopefully it gets to the point where there's food trucks there every day, and not just 1 or 2, but 5 or 6. Crystal and Wendell of the Rolling Dumpling Pot, that's who's doing all this, and couldn't be better people to do it too, because they're go-getters. I mean, they've been there every day this week working on it. I think the construction crews have been there till like midnight every day this week working on it. But we were the last food truck left there, because we brought a lot of food, because we were hoping there would be a lot of customers, and we had a great day there. We didn't sell out, but it was a really great day. But those two stayed till the very end, and they didn't have to. We could have let ourselves out, But they gave away free pizza from us. They gave away a free sandwich from BOGO, some desserts from Grandma's Sugar Shack. Who else was there? The lemonade, Joyful Treehouse lemonade. They gave away free lemonade from them, and they themselves gave away dumplings and T-shirts from the East Side and T-shirts from the Rolling Dumpling Pot. So they even gave us free T-shirts, believe it or not. But she's really good at what she does. Running that business, she's super intelligent about it, and like her social media is better than all of ours. But I'm getting off track of the park. But yeah, the park's got a lot of great amenities. There's no generator noise.
And see, and I'm not trying to like say it's bad. Like when you're set up elsewhere, it is kind of hard to hear you sometimes with the generator, but it's not like that doesn't deter me from showing up. But it was nice, be able to sit and talk to you and actually have
It
a
was very
normal tone
nice.
of voice.
Yeah, it was very nice, but it was very strange because I'm
I
not used
bet.
to that, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it feels like I'm leaving something undone here, like I'm forgetting to do something, like, what I forget, the whole day I was thinking, man, it feels like I'm forgetting something, and it's just that noise was absent,
Yeah.
and it was strange, but yeah, it was nice. It was nice. It was really nice to be able to hear Amber when I'm talking to
Yeah.
her,
Yeah.
and for her to hear me because that generator's usually, on the front
Up
of the
the yeah.
trailer in the bus, and so it echoes off those walls, and it gets pretty loud,
Yeah.
So yeah, that was super nice. They've got hay down right now. Of course, they're trying to grow some grass there,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's just the coolest place.
Yeah.
It really is. Um, I'm trying to think of what the lady I was talking to yesterday that you were getting ready to mention.
Yeah, you mentioned, and I just now thought of it, and
Okay.
I just lost my train of thought. But thing is, I think you mentioned something about why it's always nice to really not just support you guys, but the thing about food trucks is you're dealing with the owners. Like you're not dealing with a teenager that's
Yeah.
maybe this is their high school job. And I'll be honest with you, like there's a lot of fast food joints around here that I quit going to
Yeah.
because I got bad quality food consistently.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, and it's just that they don't. It's not their business. They don't put the effort in that the owner would. And it's
Yeah.
hard to manage that. And that's the thing is, like you said, is when you go to these food trucks, you're dealing with the owners of that food truck.
Yeah.
So it's more important to them to sell a good quality product to the customer. And
Yeah.
that's why some people shy away from them because they're like, oh well, it might be dirty or whatever. But you guys have a lot of the same regulations
Oh, we have the exact
as
same
a restaurant.
yeah. As a
So it's not
restaurant.
like that. Oh, you're on a food truck, so they cut you guys a whatever. No, you guys have the same everything. You have to follow the cleanliness, everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So we have to follow the Missouri Health Code just like any other business,
yeah,
and we follow that to a T. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't, the last thing I want to do is get somebody sick for one.
yeah,
But to be shut down or get dinged, by the health department of, because if if the health department comes and they inspect you, if there's something wrong and you can't fix it on the spot, they have to come back 2 weeks later and re-inspect you. So, when they do that, they're most likely probably looking for other problems as well. You know what I mean? So,
hmm
you want to just try to do it right the
yeah,
first time and, make sure your stuff's clean. We're always cleaning between, customers and different things. And so, yeah, I mean, it's easier to follow it to a T than to stray from it and then have to scramble once the health department shows up,
yeah,
to get everything right and be compliant. So,
yeah,
for me, that's how we do it. I haven't talked to any of the other ones about it. I'm sure a lot of them, they follow it to a T as well, or they wouldn't be open, So,
yeah,
yeah, it's so yeah, going back to what you said about the owners making your food, for the owners, that's a large stake in their business is, if I want to continue to do what I love, which is serving food to people, here in the county and elsewhere, and I have to do the best I can and put out the best quality I can. And when you have the owner that's in charge of quality control directly like that, making your food, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a better quality product than what you will when, you have to hire somebody that's not as invested in your company to do that for you. People have talked to me about franchising. They've talked the food trucks, like, building another one. And I just can't do it. I can't let, and maybe I'm a control freak, but I can't let loose of that quality control, and Amber can't either, so.
Well, and the thing is too, and I'm not saying, I'm 27, in my generation. So I always hear people say, oh, well, the younger generation, they just don't want to work. And it's not as a whole, I don't think. Because good example of this is I met Jamie and Dell from Number 9 Coffee Shop.
Yeah.
And your niece is actually the manager.
Yep.
And, and it sounds bad, when you told me your niece is the manager, I'm thinking of somebody in her 25, 30 years old.
She's 19.
She's 19,
Yeah.
managing a coffee shop. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, in that that's amazing.
I got a funny story about that actually. So when they bought, my niece was working there,
Yeah.
and she knew that they were getting new owners. And Jamie comes in one day, and my niece has no idea who she is. She thinks she's a new employee. employees. So
I heard the story. She
yeah,
told,
so my niece ends up training Jamie, thinking that she's just another employee. And when she found out and they took over, they hired her on as the manager.
yeah,
So it was pretty cool. They were
yeah,
impressed, by how good of a job she was doing. So
yeah.
yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty neat, and that's the thing is, and well, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, the younger generation that doesn't want to work." Well, I feel like they pull everybody together, and like 19 years old, I mean, that's
I know people my age that don't want to work.
yeah,
I know people older than me that don't want to work. I don't think it's a generational thing per se. I'm sure maybe some of that has to do with it because I feel like, children are a lot more coddled these days than what they were. The parents want to take the stress off of them because they love their kids, and I get that kind of thing. But a lot of it also, like, my niece loves her job. She loves doing what she does, what she does. And so, that's the same with me. So, like, she's going to do a good job at that, She's,
hmm
and my sister is, she's got the work ethic I do. So, she's taught my niece that, So, so yeah, I think, that's why, you do find younger generational people
yeah,
that are hard workers,
yeah.
and then you get a lot that don't care. I mean, it is what it is, but I think you're going to find that with every generation.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's the thing is, and like I said, it's not just that generation; it's just as a whole throughout. I mean,
Yeah.
and it all just depends on how you're raised too.
Think about the people that, and there's, the system is set up for people who need it, right? Like the welfare system,
hmm
the EBT, the stuff like that, disability. But there are definitely people that are working the system of all ages.
hmm
It's not just 20-year-old kids. It's 50-year-olds, it's 70-year-olds, it's 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
So you're gonna find that everywhere.
hmm
You're gonna find people that don't want to work everywhere, and maybe they're lazy, maybe they just haven't found what they like to do, or maybe
Yeah.
they've been brought up to think that that's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's just the younger generation. I just think that our generation is loud about the younger generation being lazy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Well, and it just comes down to how they were raised.
yeah,
What was normal for them. Um, yeah, and it's just how it is. I mean, you can't just pull everybody together into one.
I'm sure you were throwing hay at a young age.
Yeah, that's why my knees popped. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
There's something to be said about manual labor. You teach
Yeah.
them young that you normalize hard stuff when they're young. Well, then
Yeah.
everything else in their life doesn't seem so bad. So, um,
Well,
you
and,
know,
and it's different being born and raised on a farm, because
yeah,
you kind of, you're always like raised around farmers. And so, like, my first actual job was working on an alfalfa farm. Luckily, I didn't have to really get off the tractor too much and throw hay because it had a setup,
yeah,
where it all load up itself. But yeah, there was times where I would throw hay during the summertime. And my dad always told me, he's like, "You're gonna regret that when you get older," because he's born and raised on a farm too,
yeah.
obviously. And uh, like my knees pop. Yeah,
They do.
yeah. So that's a lot of the reason why.
Oh,
But anyways, yeah. So, but I think that's really kind of where work ethic comes from. All how you're raised.
yeah.
That's where it comes from. So, but no, there's another question I was going to ask you about the food trucks. I know the food trucks haven't been around very long, but what do you think kicked them off so much? As far as why do you think they became so popular?
Well, food trucks have been around forever in the United States, for 30, 40 years now. But they usually starts on the coast and then everything comes to the Midwest
Yeah.
last. It takes there's a joke that it takes 30 years for everything to get popular in the Midwest from the coasts. But I know Grandma's Sugar Shack was one of the first ones. I think they just had their 6th anniversary. And I think I actually visited them their very first year at the first Cruising for a Cause event in Park Hills. I judged the barbecue competition over there, and they had deep fried cupcakes, and so I wanted to see what that was all about. And, so we went and visited them. So they were kind of the first, and then maybe 2.5, 3 years later, I don't remember which one was first, but within 6 months of each other, Casey's Cooking and the Lunch Lady opened up, and they were both serving amazing food, and it probably took a little while for the word to get out, and spread about that because they're two of the first food trucks that serve, meals and not just sweets. And, so they were the first two. And then I know the Joyful Treehouse used to have a bakery style trailer as well some years ago. So she might have been the first. But as far as regular food goes, we were right after them pretty much, probably within a year and a half of both of those guys being open. We were the next in line serving, like dinner type meals, lunch type meals, stuff like that. And so I think when you see, I'm sorry, I'm skipping back a little bit here, but when you see the popularity of those grow, and we kind of got in at the right time, and then, we were serving what's considered to be really good food. I think it kind of looked glamorous, to people that maybe wanted to start a food truck. I like to say we make it look easy. It's pretty tough sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think, because like Casey's got barbecue. Tom and Julie, they have burgers and they have wings and they have tacos and pulled pork and I think, and then we have pizza. So there's a lot of diversity there. And so I think that got people's wheels turning about, that you could basically open up a food truck with any kind of food, you know, and because, we were all growing in popularity. We still are, my follower list on Facebook and theirs, they go up every single day. And so, I think it's just the word of mouth thing, like we talked about last time is, word of mouth spreads, and people latch onto it and it just grows over time, so I wasn't sure if you're asking about popularity in customer base or popularity in food truck ownership, but they both kind of exploded at the same time, so I think we're in the prime of it right now. We went from having 5 food trucks to 30.
Do you think it's going to continue on, or do you think that there's going to be more brick and mortars from, because do you think that that's just what I'm saying? Do you think?
Yeah, no, it's kind of hard to say because some brick and mortars have started food trucks as well, like the Raging Rooster, and that helps them get their food out to other areas in the county where people might not come to Park Hills from,
Yeah.
I think we're starting to see it slow down right now. The Fed says we're in a recession. We had 2 quarters back to back that were in the negative, I guess, and so they say we're in a recession. Interest rates for loans on automobiles, houses, trailers, stuff like that, are high. So nobody wants to take a loan on them because they don't want their payment to be ridiculous. So I think if you see food trucks, starting out right now, it'll be probably businesses that are doing well and can afford, to spend the money. Maybe rarely a few individuals starting food trucks if they can afford, to do it right now. But, people that have business sense and that are smart, probably aren't pulling the trigger on buying a $40,000 to $60,000, mobile food establishment, right now because the interest rates are so high and they know better than to do that, So, with inflation, with all that, I think it's kind of coming to a slow point, but that doesn't mean we won't have a resurgence of it when interest rates come down, so I don't think they're losing popularity in customers though, but just maybe food truck ownership because, the hand we're dealt by the economy.
I see. Okay. So I kind of want to draw us to an end a little bit with a question for you. What motivates you? And do you have a certain kind of quote that you live by that kind of sticks in your head, like when you get discouraged?
I don't get discouraged too often. I mean, you might get a little discouragement throughout, if you have a bad day or whatever. But but you can't let every day, every bad day discourage you from doing what you love. As far as motivation, I rely on discipline sometimes when I'm not feeling it. There's some days I don't want to go out that we've scheduled to go out. I wake up tired or I don't feel good or I'm just plain not feeling it that day. So I think motivation is fleeting, but discipline is reliable. If you discipline yourself to do something, you can do it no matter how you feel. So, but as far as you ask about motivation, I would say just like I said, why we do it last time is something I've created with my mind, I've made with my hands that I get to hand somebody and see them happy to get, and have these conversations, with these people. That's what motivates me to continue to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Discipline gets me out the door to do it,
Yeah.
but I look forward to that every day.
Yeah.
So I think that's
pretty much it.
Pretty much it. Yeah.
Anything else you want to leave them with?
Oh gosh, I don't think so.
I think
I'm good today.
I think we've hit on some good stuff, and it's always a good time to sit down with you and talk with you. I think I kind of wish all those times we'd sit in the coffee shop and talk for about an hour. I wish we would have recorded them. It's always a good time to get with you, and I think it's always good to kind of just talk to people that have knowledge in certain areas, and just and talk to you about your knowledge of food trucks and that style of business. And that's why I want to meet other people that have a different style of business, how it works differently.
I guess I could leave them with, if you decide to start a business of any kind, try to reach people as organically as possible, and don't fool yourself into thinking you're successful before you are. Success, I get asked that a lot. I've always been asked that a lot ever since we started, and it took a long time for me to say, yeah, I think we're successful. There's many factors that play into it. Everything we do is focused on long term. So like, I don't make short term rash decisions. I've had companies contact me and be like, hey, they're a new company. Like there was one that was like microgreens, right? So like the little vegetables, the little greens. And they had just become a seller of these, and it wasn't a bad idea per se, but they weren't established. And I didn't want to do business with somebody who wasn't established, because I don't want to put something on my menu that I can't have, that I don't know if I'm going to be able to have in 18 months. You know what I mean? So I don't want to get hooked into something, get people really liking it, and then not be able to use that 18 months from now. So everything the way we run our business, the way we run our marketing, the way we build our customer base is thought in the long term. And I touched on that last time about events. We don't do a lot of events, these 2 and 3 day events, mostly because I don't want to give up that much of my weekends. I've got a child I want to spend time with, but because I feel like that's short-term money, and that's great, but that doesn't build my business long-term. So everything we do is long-term based.
That's where it's at. Not looking at the tip of your nose, as I say, looking past the tip of your nose and look in the future and see what you do today will affect tomorrow.
It's easy to let one bad day think that you're not doing, you think you're not doing good, or one bad week even. But you got to look at the month as a whole, the year as a whole, and be like, yeah, we had some bad days here and there, but overall, our numbers are up, or overall, they're the same, or we're doing well, So I think that's, it's important to focus on the long term for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Chris, I really appreciate you coming out again on a Saturday morning. Obviously, this is the second Saturday we've done this, and so I know this is, a lot for you. I know this is your day off, and I really appreciate you coming out and spending time. And I definitely love sitting down with you, and I look forward to future episodes with you. But yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Nothing else you want to say? Nothing else? I think you pretty much said everything.
Yeah. I don't know what our schedule looks like next week, so I can't tell people where to go. But come see us. Come see us. We'll have different stuff on the menu every week. If you've not tried us yet, give us a try. We usually have something for everybody.
There we go. That'll work. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have any questions, concerns, or suggestions, shoot me an email. Like I said, I'll put that down here below. Or if you just want to give me some feedback, just let me know. But other than that, appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.